Standing by is a gentleman, a sheriff named Kevin Joyce. He is sheriff of Cumberland County, Maine. Mr. Kevin, how are you this morning? Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
You just
Thanks
called
for
him
having me.
Kevin. You don't even know him.
It's Mr. Kev. Did I call him by his first
You
name?
did.
Hey, Kev, how you been, man?
That's all right.
I'm looking at the article here, and I'll just start with this and sort of give you free rein for a couple of seconds to explain. In terms of the case involving Benjamin Shaw, what exactly do you mean by slide job?
Well, the defense attorney, after hours, called in to one of the sergeants that was working the road and suggested that this individual was going to be making bail and asked if we would check on him, that he had been charged with second-degree murder and he was going to be released. And my sergeant, not knowing, just says, yeah, go ahead, we'll do it. So, my issue is this, the defense attorney, the DAs, the sheriff, the police department, the judge, if they were going to release this guy on second-degree murder, I think they would have brought somebody from my administration in on the conversation to say, look, we're thinking about doing this. Do you have any concerns? What would you be concerned so that we can meet that? To call after hours, not to call my office or my administration to let us know. Sounded like they were trying to slide him into Naples, Maine, and hope that nobody picked up on it.
Did you have a conversation with Sheriff Whittington after the fact? And what can you share about that?
I called him Tuesday night after I'd gotten home from a meeting, and my phone was ringing off the hook by the media up here to try to find out what he knew about it, because I had just learned of it the day before, and he was aware of the release, and I said, look, why don't you get your people and your facts together, and I will talk to you on Wednesday morning to discuss how this happened. Again, for me, it's professional courtesy to let the agency know that's going to ultimately be responsible for the release of this guy. Yesterday, the Maine Department of Corrections is looking to release somebody on a furlough for a weekend for driving under the influence, driving while being a habitual offender, and running from the police. Not second-degree murder, but, traffic things. And they've given me a month to provide feedback on them releasing this individual for a weekend in an area that I patrol. I would have seen the same thing, or would like to have seen the same thing from Louisiana, and actually I would have expected that. You just don't make decisions, drop them in somebody else's territory, and try to let them fend for themselves.
Now,
and
you said you were going to have a follow-up conversation with the sheriff on Wednesday. Did that happen?
We did. It did. His deputy did, or his captain did call us a week later and confirmed with the same sergeant that we had agreed, or he had agreed, to watch this individual. But it was a week later. The fact that a defense attorney is setting this up, again, seems a little strange to me. This would have been something, in my opinion, that probably not the judge is going to call, but at least the district attorney or the sheriff or the police department that's prosecuting to say, look, this is on the table, this is being discussed, and this is what we're thinking about doing. What are your thoughts? Because in the end, you're going to end up with this guy.
Sheriff Kevin, in reference to Mr. Shaw, if Bossier Parish had, in your mind, gone through the proper protocol, the proper channels, followed the letter of, if they'd gone by the book, and as you put it, would you have been okay with taking Mr. Shaw?
I probably would have said, geez, I'm not really comfortable with that. But if you decide to do that, because, I understand that there is an Eighth Amendment. He can, to the Constitution that says he can make bail, even though in Maine, if you're charged with murder, you're not seeing the day, the cited day until you're released at the end of your sentence. I would have said probably, I'm not really comfortable with that, but if you got to do it, this is what I need you to do.
And what would be on that list?
What's that?
What would be on that list? This is what you got to do.
Electronic monitoring, so that we can monitor him in real time. Random checks of him and his residence. That he would not be allowed to leave his residence. Those are the ones that I'm seeing that weren't in his bail conditions. His bail conditions, quite frankly, I thought were pretty loose. It basically says you can't leave Cumberland County. So he's been technically sentenced to Cumberland County until his next court date, and they're requesting we meet with him once a week between 5 o'clock at night and 7, which tells me that after we leave his house at 7 o'clock on Friday night, he can do anything he wants between 7 o'clock and 5 o'clock the next Friday.
Mr. Kevin,
Seems pretty liberal to me.
I was looking, and I knew that Cumberland was Portland, Maine area, and the size and the population of your county is very similar to our Caddo Parish. Did you know Mr. Shaw previous? Did he have any kind of police record there or anything?
We did some research, and the answer is no. He did. We had some incidents where he was a suspect in some things, but the victims chose not to prosecute, and he was a juvenile, so at that time, he's never been convicted of anything.
If our sheriff's office says, I have viewed all of the email correspondence, and it's very clear there was ample correspondence with Cumberland County prior to his release, would you disagree with that?
I would. First of all, if I do anything with a defense attorney calls me and wants something, and there's a case in play, I will call the police department, or if it's us, then I don't have to call them, but the police department of jurisdiction where the case is being handled, and also let the DA's office know. So that's problem number one. I've got a defense attorney setting this up a week before anybody from the prosecution gets involved. Then a week later, a captain calling a sergeant. Now, at that time, the sergeant was the person on duty, was after hours, but I am on 24 hours a day. So should the captain, captain called me? Yes. Should my sergeant have let us know? Well, yeah, he probably should have, but he did a report. He put it in a pass down. I don't think it was adequate. I think that if I were releasing somebody to Bossier Parish Sheriff's Office, I would be on the phone to the sheriff down there saying, Sheriff, I'm hearing that this individual is going to be released. And before he's released, is there anything you want me to relay to the court on your behalf to make this work? That is professional courtesy. That should have been done by the DA's office. It should have been done by the sheriff's office. The defense attorney should never have been involved in this. And in the end, even though that contact was made and the administration, the reports were done and pass downs, it really didn't come to light until about 15 minutes before the media started calling on Tuesday night that we've got a second-degree murder.
Sheriff Kevin Joyce, Cumberland County, Maine. One more quick question. As it stands now, are you basically stuck with the guy, and are you going to do anything to try to ship him back?
Well, it's a good question. I sent a letter to the district attorney yesterday wanting to clarify what is my authority, because I'm not sure that I have the authority if he decides to leave Cumberland County. I've been told that I have to write a report and then ship it down to Louisiana, and they will take it to court, and then maybe the judge will get a warrant. Well, that's a lot of time for somebody that's been charged with murder. So I don't know if I have the authority. I have asked that the bail be amended to include no use of possession of alcohol. My understanding is this occurred in front of a bar, so alcohol could be a factor. That I want electronic monitoring on the individual, and that he would pay for that monitoring so that we could keep track and set exclusion zones for where he goes. And third, I want random and unannounced checks of Mr. Shaw's residence. If the court decides that that is unreasonable or whatever, then I'm going to respond back and say, I'm not going to take responsibility for monitoring this guy. I have to protect my community. I've got people that are a little upset about this. And again, in Maine, not that Maine's the big trendsetter, but the chances of you being released on bail for any homicide is slim to none. And the fact that you're allowed to go 1,500 miles away makes it even more of a head scratcher.
Are you most concerned if he kills someone during that week that you're not looking at him, that it's going to be on you now?
Well, I mean, he's got a propensity, regardless of what the integral facts are. He's got the propensity. Naples is part of 6 towns that I have 2 deputies patrolling. So it's not like he's in a town where there's, 30 cops working on a shift. So, the reality is I have to balance the constitutional right of this gentleman of making bail. I have to try to get along with the folks in Louisiana, which I have no issue with, other than I don't like how this was handled. And then lastly, and most importantly, I have to protect the 4,500 plus citizens of Naples, Maine, that are saying, what is this all about?
Sheriff Kevin Joyce, Cumberland County, we can't thank you enough for your time today. Appreciate your candor, sir.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You bet.